Matt Levi Investigates, brought to you in the public interest and without commercial interruption by Trinity Investments, the Hawaii Regional Council of Carpenters, and Stanford Card Development. We know Hawaii, and we build for Hawaii.
It is 5:45 on a weekday morning in the first 100 days in office for Honolulu's 12th Chief of Police. Joe Logan is inside HPD headquarters.
Morning, Chief. Good. How are you doing? Good morning. How's everything? Good.
In his first 100 days, Logan will have visited every Oahu police district. His goal is to introduce himself to officers now under his command. On this day, he is at the start of second watch with the men and women from District 7, who patrol from Punahou Street to Makapu'u.
Thank you all for that. Again, thank you for what you do every day. Greatly appreciate it. Remember, we have the hearts and minds of the community. Let's keep that. Let's do your job. Don't change your behavior. I mean, as far as be the police officer you need to be. Remember your values, your principles, that of the department, right? Respect and fairness and integrity always.
There are younger officers unaware of Logan's 20 years spent with the department a generation ago. He left HPD in 2002 for a full-time position with the Hawaii Army National Guard.
But thank you for serving. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you for joining, and I'm glad to be back.
For older officers, his visit means a chance to reconnect. The 63-year-old Logan is in a unique position as he starts his 5-year term. As a former HPD officer, Logan is both an insider and an outsider, and he knows he must use that perspective to his advantage. The department he returns to now, the nation's 20th largest, with just over 1,800 sworn officers.
Why are you the guy?
I think I'm the person to lead the department at this point in time because, one, I'm an experienced leader, and I've been here for 50 years of my life, so I understand the culture. I understand what's going on in the city and county of Honolulu. So I think for this time and place, I was the right choice.
While the session this morning is cordial and respectful, there is, however slight, a detectable sense of apprehension as the new chief takes command. But that feeling, where it exists in the rank and file, is understandable and to be expected. It is collateral damage from the dismal recent history of HPD leadership. The harsh reality is that the last 2 Honolulu police chiefs did not finish their terms, and one of them, Louis Kealoha, is now a convicted felon, serving a lengthy prison term on the mainland.
For me, it's really buy-in. It's buy-in from the organization, from within and outside. So it's a community effort. It's an internal effort to put together plans, programs, objectives, and goals for the next 5 years, really for the next 20 years.
Officers we spoke to in the first 100 days, almost without exception, gave Logan's selection high marks and said for now they will fully support him. But they also tell us they still feel the embarrassment of the fallout caused by Kealoha and his successor Susan Ballard, who after a promising start made a hasty exit from office before the end of her term.
And so coming into this position, that is what I would like to do, is earn all their, they may not like me, but at least they trust that I have the leadership qualities, capabilities, and attributes to lead this organization.
Did you believe what you saw about Louis Kealoha when you watched as an outsider? What was your reaction to watching all this stuff?
It was hard to believe. You know, I had known Louis. He was in the police academy with my younger brother. It was difficult to believe, but as you watch the more and more news, it became obvious that this is more than likely true.
That is the situation Logan stepped into.
My heart ached for the department as a whole. Wanting to serve as the chief, when I put in my application, even though it was an outside shot, I thought I had all the qualities necessary. I had the leadership skills. I led an organization twice as large with the National Guard here in the state. So I had all of the capabilities to do that, and I was successful in that. So I felt that to do this job, I was prepared.
Was there anybody you respect during the interview process who told you not to take the job?
There were a lot of people that I respect that asked me, why did I step up to do this? And why would I do this at this time in my life? I'm 63 years old.
Go ahead.
I told them I have to. It's a calling for me. Since I was young, and my dad told us when we were young, as we grew up, to always give back to the community and to serve. That's just who I am, and I think it's what drives me into the future. And so serving a purpose higher than myself and being a young person, and even today at 63, willing to put myself on the line as a police officer, because I'm still a police officer, and to save somebody else from harm that I've maybe never met is something that I'm fully capable and prepared to do.
What has been your number one priority since taking office?
Since coming into the position starting on June 14th, for me it was about earning the trust of the men and women in the Honolulu Police Department. And the reason to earn that trust is, had I been somebody who was selected from within the department as a current member, I would have already been able to express, and they would have observed and felt my leadership within the department growing up into this position. And so as I gained the trust of the individual officers and employees within the Honolulu Police Department and expressed my command philosophy in treating everybody with dignity and respect, that goes outward.
It's our view, and it's what I hear from the public, that the majority of the community still supports the men and women of the Honolulu Police Department, and that the good that police do far outweighs the bad.
Yes.
Tad Saruma is president of the Pearl City Lions Club.
Because of the Kealohas and all that, it undermined everything that police stood for.
But it is not just the Kealoha scandal. Many of the department's image problems are self-inflicted, from unwarranted high-speed chases and accusations of overtime abuse to allegations of excessive force. To be dealt with also relentless print, broadcast, and social media scrutiny of HPD, which has had its effect on the department's reputation in the eyes of the public. Retired U.S. Navy Master Chief Larry Veray is the Pearl City Neighborhood Board chair.
Yes, what's happened is, through the last few police chiefs, things have really gone downhill. As far as trust with the public, when they see negative situations happening, especially when police officers are not following policy, not following their own regulations, and of course those things that you see on TV with police chases and maybe some police abuse in some cases, that affects the community quite a bit.
As HPD's number one, can the trust that's been lost be restored?
Absolutely. And we need their support. We need them to understand this is the direction we're going. These are the changes we're making. We want you to support that and with their input, because some of the goals and objectives we're going to set are set by the community.
Pearl City Lions Club member Linda Saruma.
There's no trust. They need to, I don't know what they can do to help or to win the trust, but maybe, to me, I think the police chief has to talk to his people, get the trust from his workers.
The Honolulu Police Department is run by Chief Logan, but really our officers that engage with the public every day are the face of this police department. So your engagement sets the perception of how the community understands and believes in us. And so as long as you go out there every day, you have to do your job, whether that's arresting, citing, influencing others to quell their bad behavior. You do that in a manner that treats everyone with dignity and respect, and then we'll rebuild this trust together.
I know it's going to be restored. I think he's the man that'll do it. He's just got to work with his police officers and what he's doing, going out to the community to help restore that trust with the community.
Looking at the Logan family history, it was likely that Joe Logan would go into either law enforcement or to the military. His grandfather, Frank, was a New York City police officer. His dad, Francis, joined the U.S. Army and was an officer in the 11th Airborne Division. At the same time, in the 1950s, another young man also served his country as a proud member of the 11th Airborne. That young paratrooper was Hawaiian, and years later he would lead the Honolulu Police Department. His name? Francis Keala. Francis Logan was stationed, among other posts, at the Pentagon and then Vietnam. He was awarded the Legion of Merit in 1972. By that time, Francis and his wife Bobby Logan had a daughter, Terrell, and 3 boys, Mark, Joe, and Steve. The next stop for Lieutenant Colonel Logan and his family was Fort Shafter, Hawaii.
Most people don't know me as somebody who's lived here for 50 years, grew up in the city and county of Honolulu, came here as a young 12-year-old kid. So as a young kid, even before when I was here as a young kid, we used to swim in the natatorium. Now you can't do that anymore. How you doing? Good. I grew up with a Hawaiian Chinese family on the windward side when we were young kids, who invited us into their house, taught us culture and things that go on. Went to Sandy Beach, Makapu, surfing North Shore every chance we had the opportunity to learn how to do all of that with his family. And so, you know, Hawaii is ingrained in me and who I am.
Logan went to King Intermediate, then St. Louis School, graduating in 1977. He joined the Hawaii Army National Guard. 5 years later, he went part-time with the Guard, and following in the footsteps of both brothers, Mark and Steve, became a full-time Honolulu police officer. Logan was named the Outstanding Recruit of the 82nd Recruit Class. Logan would work various assignments in the department, including walking a beat downtown and in Waikiki.
By and large, I think, yeah, perhaps, 40 years ago was a little bit simpler in operations and investigations.
And maybe a lot more fun.
Those are the things you get promoted out of having fun, right? Not that I don't enjoy what I do, but those are the times where you really, you get to jump out of helicopters in the mountains to pull dope. You get to play undercover and buy drugs from somebody who has no idea. They think they're buying drugs from a drug dealer.
Logan worked the Narcotics Vice Division alongside his brothers.
Was there competition between you and your brothers?
I don't know if there's competition. We never really thought about it. I think we just did the best job in whatever assignment we were given, and that's how we always were, even whether we were all in the National Guard together, and we were all in the police department together, and each of us made our own reputation.
While in the police department, Logan continued his service in the National Guard and would graduate from Officer Candidate School. He steadily rose through the ranks of both, making HPD Sergeant in 1996, then Detective. In 2002, after 20 years on the force, he decided to go full-time with the Guard. He would become Director of Emergency Management and then Adjutant General, commanding the entire Hawaii Army Guard, and finish his military career with the rank of Major General. His brother Steve earned the rank of Brigadier General and Mark, Colonel. When the Honolulu Police Commission chose the city and county's 12th chief on June 23, 2022, a year-long selection process finally came to an end. Logan was sworn into HPD under Chief Francis Keala, who became chief in 1969, just 6 months after his predecessor, Dan Liu, retired. Logan's selection took much longer, about a year, with mainland consultants brought in as part of the interview process at a cost to the public of $145,000.
Did the length of the process, the month after month, make you say to yourself at some point, this is taking too long, I don't need this, I'm out? At some point, did you say that to yourself?
I might have thought it, but I didn't. I think what I really thought was, this is taking so long. Being and studying for and being prepared to be the chief, understanding if and when this selection process got started, the actual testing, the assessment phase, the 3 days of assessment phase, all of that, to me, that was the part that I was waiting for.
And while it did take long, it was deliberative on purpose. And because we had to follow procurement laws with respect to onboarding a consultant, we believe that once the consultant was onboarded, it took about 6 to 7 months to actually bring the chief forward.
At one point, I took my study materials, I put it in the back of my car, and I stopped looking at it. And I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna wait until I get a letter that says, here's the test. I had faith in a system, but the length of time was it was taxing.
This took a little longer than it needed to, in your view.
Yeah, definitely did. And I think a lot of us were frustrated, not only the commission members, but members of the public.
I was never disappointed in the commission, but it did take a long time.
For you, no longer than 6 months to select a new chief would make you happy.
Correct, yes. No longer than 6 months would make us happy. If it could be shorter, that would be ideal, more ideal, of course. But I think with respect to ensuring that the best candidate is moved forward through our different processes, that 6 months is sufficient.
Complicating Logan's first 100 days, literally hours after assuming office, word surfaced of the arrest of Zane Logan, the chief's estranged adult son from Joe Logan's first of 2 marriages.
You have 4 adult children. 3 of them are doing well, but your son Zane has a lengthy criminal history.
I know it sounds mean that I haven't had a relationship with him in about 10 years, but he and I have an understanding that I support him, I love him, but I don't support what he does. He only calls me once in a great while. I haven't heard from him recently. He did call me from prison a couple weeks ago, and just to say that he was sorry for all the things that he's put me through. Because I knew he had a drug addiction. Not that he was a criminal, because I didn't know that. I was more worried about, am I gonna find out or get a call based on, somebody's, unfortunately, and this is really hard to say, but is he dead, right? Is he, because there's only 2 things gonna happen when you get on drugs. Either you're dead or you're in jail. And so it was just a matter of time, and my wife and I would sit on the couch and cringe every time we watched the news, waiting for something to happen. And I thank God I never got that call.
And there was criticism asking, how can Chief Logan run the police department and not be able to keep his son out of trouble with the law?
Yes, I was a little taken aback by the media, because that was all the questions was about my ability to lead an organization, and I have a son who's out there committing crimes. I am not the only individual in the world that has this problem.
Is there a line that shouldn't be crossed regarding your personal life, or is anything fair game?
Not every police officer's family needs to be, brought out, but when you rise up to the level of police chief, your life is no longer private.
The fact that Zane Logan was a 36-year-old adult living outside of the home, it wasn't too surprising that it did not come up in the background investigation. The question of whether we would have wanted to know about that, the answer is yes. However, when it did come up, it would not have changed our mind with respect to Chief Logan being our choice for the next chief of police.
But looking back, you should have brought it up.
Yes, I should have. It's something in conversation with the police commission, it should have been something that says, oh, by the way, yes. He has to get through what he's got to get through, and at that point, when he's done with his legal issues, and hopefully he can get into a drug treatment facility that will help him clean himself up, and then at that point in time, he and I may or may not start a relationship after that. And I thank the police department and the officers for doing their job, and not saying, hey, this is the chief's son, let's figure out a way to help him. They didn't do that. They arrested him. They did what they needed to do.
You were criticized shortly after you took office about participating in a secret swearing in, that your official swearing in was not in public view. What happened on that?
So once I got selected by the police commission, I immediately took leave from my other state job, and I came up here as a volunteer per se, to be up and sitting in the chief's seat, learning from then interim Chief Vanek and the other assistant chiefs on what's the daily activities, what's going on, what is the chief's role.
Another hurdle, Logan needed to complete an onboarding process, which included medical clearances that had no time frame for completion, which could have meant more delays. Logan says a public ceremony was planned for later.
Originally we had June 17th as the date for that. However, we were still waiting for this clearance. So one day on the 14th in the morning at about 8:45, 8:50, an email came to Chief Vanek and says, okay, Logan's cleared, he can start.
Logan wanted to be in uniform and in his official capacity as chief, formally introducing the new recruit class and giving welcoming remarks.
For me, it was personal. It was 40 years ago, June of 1982, when I joined the Honolulu Police Department.
He told us he had his staff put together a quick ceremony that day with plans for a public ceremony once he was installed.
Looking back at it, you know, being the chief and being this institution of the Honolulu Police Department and the impact it has within the city and county is everything that I do needs to be in the public eye. And so they need to see that I'm not doing anything in a secret or in a less than observation mode, that everything I do is transparent and open.
Chief Logan sees his first 100 days as an assessment period.
And you don't come in right off the bat and start making changes right away. That's not what they teach you in leadership. It's effective in some organizations, but not in this organization. That's not how I lead. Because if I just come in and say, here's the next 5 years, execute, the department's going to look at that and say, well, why? And what is your background to come up with this concept?
Logan says he's going back to the basics and stressing the mission statement of integrity, respect, and fairness.
Do we behave with integrity? Are we fair when we deal with people? And do we respect everyone? And so I want to make sure that do we need to add to that? Are they sufficient for what we have as a department and how we're going to interact with our community? So that's what I'm determining in this first 100 days. And then the strategic plan will build on all of that.
Regardless of the plan in place, Chief Logan needs the manpower to make it work. He has 348 officer positions to fill. That number will likely increase. Several hundred officers are eligible to retire today.
I've been in discussions with members of the city council and the mayor's office on how do we create some kind of bonus program to get officers into our program. It's really about all of us. Every officer, every civilian that's currently in the police department is a recruiter. And if they can go out and talk to one individual and get them interested in joining the police department, then in a year or two, we can fill the vacancies that we have.
Are violent crimes on the increase? Or different stats say different things, and what is the situation?
So there's a perception that crime is on the rise. We've had robberies increase, most of those with some other element besides a gun. We've taken a look at over the last, since 2019 to 2022, and unfortunately crime hasn't increased or decreased. It has in some areas, and it hasn't in other areas. And so it's kind of a flat line.
The U.S. Supreme Court has approved the carrying of concealed firearms. Are you concerned that there will be a rise in violent crime?
No, I asked other chiefs the other day on a video teleconference that have already either started issuing permits or have had these for years. And they said there's been no discernible rise in violent crime. It doesn't deter the individual, but it doesn't increase an individual's capacity not to commit crime.
And most concealed carry citizens are law-abiding.
Absolutely.
What role should police have as far as the homeless situation is concerned? And do you have a solution to the homeless problem?
I wish I had a solution to the homeless problem. You know, being homeless is not a law enforcement, it's not a crime. It is a society issue, it's a medical help issue. And so how does the other components of the city and county of Honolulu do their job, and we can provide help and assistance to that. Law enforcement has a support role into the homeless issue, but it's a complex society issue.
Officer safety is a major concern for Logan. He'll be looking at modernizing technology and making other upgrades.
Every officer's life is really something I think about every day, because I know I have 1,800 officers that could be in harm's way at any one given second of every day. That's really important to me. So the best equipment that makes it efficient and effective for the officer to do their job, I'm all in support of that.
Logan says another priority is the mental and physical well-being of the men and women he leads. And he says he understands the benefits the department and the community should reap from that approach.
For me, it's health and wellness is the most important thing for all of you. Out of the 6 pillars of the 21st century policing concept, that to me is most important. Education and training is very important too, but to me it's your health and your wellness.
Joe Logan's chances for success will not be decided on innovative programs. Pretty much every new approach to law enforcement has been tried and tested around the country, and there is no magic solution. What does work, and what Logan's leadership must demand from those officers now under his command, is a renewed allegiance to a strict code of accountability and transparency.
The ship is a little tilted, maybe in off center or true north. I'm going to turn the ship back into true north, so we're all heading toward the same vision, mission. We follow the same values and principles, and we can accomplish the goals and objectives as an organization to move forward.
As he comes home to HPD, it is now in Joe Logan's hands to restore internal order and build rank-and-file confidence in his leadership. Just as important, and perhaps more so, is to rebuild the public's faith in HPD. It is a public whose patience has been tested for far too long. The first 100 days are over, and the torch has been passed. The mission for Joe Logan is clear: to meet the challenge and return the Honolulu Police Department to its proud tradition of respect and honor. Thank you for joining us. I'm Matt Levi. Good night.
But again, thank you for what you do every day. Greatly appreciate it. You know, I'm very proud of all of you. I thank you all for what you do. Like I said, you could have done something else, but you do this. Less than 1% of the population that puts on a uniform every day and goes out to serve a community. So I ask you to take care of that community, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and have a great day and a safe day. Aloha.
Matt Levi Investigates, brought to you in the public interest and without commercial interruption by Trinity Investments, the Hawaii Regional Council of Carpenters, and Stanford Card Development. We know Hawaii, and we build for Hawaii.